Pokemon's a simple franchise, but it can get weirdly complicated. Remember the first time you found out about EVs and IVs, epic values and individual values, and how that makes up the statistics of a Pokemon? It kind of boggled my mind for a bit, but here are some more weirdly complicated things in Pokemon games made by Linus.
I've been thinking about the Azure flute recently.
It's a really funny thing to just randomly think about. Like, yeah, I've been thinking about the GS ball. You ever think about the GS ball sometimes?
I'm sure a lot of us know the story, but for those of us who don't know, and a bit of a refresher for those who do, let's get some context. I'll make it quick.
The Azure flute is a bit of a tragedy. In fact, Arceus in general, until Legends Arceus came out, was a bit of a tragedy. They really fumbled the bag on the god of all Pokemon.
Every generation in the series has left at least one Pokemon out of the game, so they can distribute them in an event.
Which I never really understood. I don't know why they keep doing this. I genuinely don't get it. Why not just make some kind of event in the game when you buy it? Because going to a toy shop or something along those lines, it's not a very fulfilling way to get a really cool Pokemon. It doesn't feel that good. It's, oh, you downloaded something from online and it's just in your game now. Or maybe you downloaded an item that allows you to get to the Pokemon. Okay, sure. But it could have just already been in there. Is it just to advertise toy shops? Was it just for Toys R Us? Did they have a deal going on? Was Toys R Us giving billions of dollars to the Pokemon company? We need to figure this out.
We're looking at Generation 4 here, where they left out Darkrai, Shaman, and Arceus. Also these goopers, but we're not talking about them right now.
Fion. Yeah, Fion. Actually, Manaphy was in Pokemon Ranger. What a strange way to distribute a Pokemon. I guess it promotes Pokemon Ranger, but how many people really bought it just so they could get a Manaphy?
For these games, they decided not to distribute the Pokemon, and to instead distribute special items that opened up new areas and short side quests where you would catch the legendary Pokemon yourself.
Which I do agree with. I like that they don't just give you it. I like that you have some kind of little event, even though it is tiny. It's a baby event. With Darkrai, you go to Canaleve City, and it's like, oh no, someone's having a nightmare. Oh, it's really bad. Oh man, this kid's gonna die and stuff. Oh, we better go to New Moon Island so we can catch that Darkrai. Anyway, go get the Darkrai now.
Darkrai got the member card, allowing you to enter the previously locked in Canaleve City, which would then bring you to New Moon Island. Shaman got Oak's letter, which let you meet Professor Oak outside of Victory Road and discover a new path to the Flower Paradise.
Which enables you to run a marathon. Seriously, why was it so long?
And Arceus got the Azure flute, which would automatically activate at the top of Mount Coronet when you entered Spear Pillar, and brought you up even higher to the Hall of Origin.
Wait, this is the one that they said was too complicated? How come the Azure flute was never made available on Damn Pearl Platinum? When we were first developing the games, we thought about including it. Thought it would be fun, but once the game was complete and released, I changed my mind down the road and didn't think it would be. I thought it would be confusing for people and kind of hard to understand how it worked. So eventually, we made the Why? Why? What do you mean? They made you get the Regis by deciphering Braille, catching a Relicanth, catching a Wailord, putting it in certain parts of your party, translating Braille. I don't understand how the Azure Flute could possibly be more complicated. The event was just take the Azure Flute to the top of a mountain. The only thing I could think would be complicated is how you get the Azure Flutes, but they didn't distribute it, so you can't get the Azure Flute. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty confusing if you make it impossible, that's true.
Now then, Game Freak waited until Platinum to start distributing these. The member card was released at the end of 2008. Oak's letter was released nearly right after it in 2009.
I thought it was the letter for Hogwarts for a second. Dear Lucas of the Pokemon Land, you're a wizard!
From July to November in most regions, we got Arceus. No Azure Flute, just a level 100 Arceus dumped straight into the game.
Just given to you by the man that works at the Pokemon. He just walks in. He's just doing his job. And it's like, okay, you got to deliver. We've got 3 parcels here. We have about 15 letters. And can you take this gods to that 10-year-old that's in that town over there? Yeah, just no. It's just the creation of all of existence. And you see, yeah, just give it to that 10-year-old. Can you please?
Now,
Thanks.
Here's the thing. There were data miners back then. We knew that Arceus had an event just like Shaman and Darkrai.
Oh man, old YouTube is... I kind of miss it in a way, but also I don't miss it in other ways.
We've seen videos of it, but for some reason it was entirely passed over and we were just given Arceus directly. Despite expectations, no explanation was ever given, and it would be many years before we were given any closure, and when that day finally came, it was... not what one would expect.
Was it the article?
I imagine most
I
of
just
you who
read?
clicked on this video know exactly where I'm going with this. That damn Masuda quote.
Wait, it's the one I just read, wasn't
In
it?
an interview released on September 24th,
I think it is.
2013, news outlet Nintendo World Report got to sit down and chat about the upcoming release of Pokemon X and Y. Shoutouts to Nintendo World Report because they leaned as hard as they could into that angle of, we're just gonna be fans and ask you guys questions. They had questions ranging from, would you make Pokemon Snap on the Wii U? To, how do you guys pick the Smash Brothers Pokemon? In an interview about X and Y.
That's really funny. You sit down, you're all prepared to answer questions about your new video game. You have all the information. You're really excited to talk about it. And feels like, so when are you gonna do that other thing? Like, what do you think about like Colosseum? You're like, Colosseum is pretty good, right? What's your favorite grass type?
Thanks to this, that we get the wonderfully straightforward question: how come the Azure Flute was never made available in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum?
This is such a funny question to have in an X and Y interview.
To which Masuda responds with, shockingly, an equally straightforward reply.
When we were first developing the games, we thought about including it. I thought it would be fun, but once the game was complete and released, I changed my mind down the road and didn't think it would be. I thought it would be confusing for people and kind of hard to understand how it worked, so I eventually made the decision not to distribute it.
What was complicated about it? I'm more confused trying to figure out what the complicated part was. I don't know.
It's been damn near 10 years since he said those words. Yet to this day, we have never let him live it down. Every single time a new Pokemon game releases with undoubtedly some new cryptic task for the player,
The Rune Regis evolution. What is it again? Can I remember off the top of my head? You have to level it up to a certain level and then reduce its health by a certain amount and then go under some random godforsaken rock in the middle of the wild area, and then you'll evolve it. Oh, yes. Yes, no, of course I should have figured that one out. By the way, you can translate some Braille now too, right?
bet the entire fan base will be right there with, oh, but the Azure Flute is too complicated.
Maybe this must have been a mistranslation. It has to be a mistranslation. There's no way he actually meant it was too complicated.
Okay. But it gets
Right?
me thinking, how complicated does the series get? This question tends to get away from me a little, and while the Azure Flute intro here is meant as a setup, this video really isn't an indictment of crazy things the players have been expected to figure out over the years. Just
The chance of any two Pokemon producing an egg is determined by their species. Two Bulbasaur are the same species, while Bulbasaur and Ivysaur are not. Really funny. Why does it work like that?
dive into some strangely complex things that have been committed to the series. Think of it as, I had a train of thought, and here are a few of the places I wound up.
Okay.
Before we start, some ground
excited for
rules,
this.
so to speak, to set expectations a little more.
Yep.
We're not talking about the Regis from Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
Yep.
We've all
We all
heard
know
it
about that.
100 times. Oh my god, did you know the Braille guide was in the instruction book?
I did, because this is what I used. Oh, it was in the instruction book of the game. I used guides. I used a walkthrough guide, and it had like the Braille translation guides. Oh, it was so sick. I genuinely figured it out by myself. I think it's probably the smartest the 10-year-old me or the 8-year-old me ever was. And I think I've actually gotten dumber since then.
We're good. No evolution methods. I'm sorry, Inkay, Yamask, the other one, Stantler, Basculin, the other one, Milcery, among countless others. And no general Pokemon data. Things like IVs, EVs, stat experience, personality value.
Okay, so you got some fun stuff then.
Admittedly, I find Pokemon data structure to be fascinating, but it's all very justifiably complex, and really belongs in its own breakdown.
Pokemon data structure is really, really complicated, but you have to just think, it just reminds you of programming in general. Programming in general just doesn't make sense to most people's minds because it's a lot of gobbledygook and nonsense, but it makes sense in the way that it is created.
Alright, so, no Regis, no evolution, and no Pokemon data. Got it? Perfect. Our first topic is the Regis.
I thought that there wasn't... Oh. Do you want some ice cream?
One of the most absolutely enduring comparisons to the Azure Flute. This will forever be the go-to for complicated BS in Pokemon games, but they're so well known that there's just no reason to talk about their original incarnations. That's why I specifically said no Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald golems.
True. You're right.
Now, yes, we can talk about Pokemon Platinum and how it literally has all 4 of the golems in the game, but in order to get the original 3, you need to have Regigigas, and in order to get Regigigas, you need to have the original 3.
Wait, what? This is the same game as the Azure flute too. That's so funny. So what the developers want you to do is they want you to transfer the Regis from a previous game so that you have the Regis so that you can get Regigigas so that once you have Regigigas, you can then go and catch the Regis, even though you already have them.
It says, in case of emergency, break glass with Reg. Hold on. This one says, use rock to break glass to get wrench to break glass to get rock. Ooh, I love logic puzzles. Let's see.
I can tell you what they were doing there. But what I really wanted to talk about was what they did in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire when it was time to bring back the OG Reggie side quest.
Did they make it? I think they made it a lot simpler though, didn't they?
Now, some of you will already know where I'm going with this because you were there. You remember what it was like. But it's been a long time. I'm talking like Boras itself is coming up on its 10-year anniversary.
Oh, don't say that, man. You're going to make me throw up. I remember when this game came out.
There are a lot of people out there who have no idea what Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire did. Now, here's the thing. Outside of some minor movement differences, because...
Oh, God, I just realized someone that's turning into an adult this year can say that their favorite childhood game was Oras. Oh, no.
The grid system works a little bit differently, but is largely still there and basically functions the same way. The original side quest is completely identical to its form in Ruby and Sapphire. Same requirements, same puzzles, same locations. It's jarring, honestly.
It's a faithful remake,
then
you know?
We get to the little bonus thing they added. They decided to include Regigigas this time around, however.
Sure.
They decided, we gotta include the new Reggie in the classic, super complicated, crazy puzzle that everyone's been talking about.
I don't remember how this was. I'm just going to assume that once you have all the Regis, there's some kind of wormhole that opens up or you get access to a new cave that allows you to go get Regigigas. It can't be that bad, right?
Since the day Ruby and Sapphire came out. Now, I was one of those people who got Regigigas back in the day, but even I forgot how absolutely silly these requirements were.
Really?
Alright, let's go through it.
Okay.
First off, the moment you catch the last of the Reggie trio, the game makes a note of when you did that, because you don't even get to start on Regigigas until at least one day has passed.
Okay.
And
what? Why?
once that day has passed, you talk to a girl in Pacific Log. At least I'm pretty sure you have to talk to her. The specifics are vague. I don't even know if to this day there is a definitive, yes, this is exactly what you have to do guide out there.
I think the developers just troll sometimes, just for funsies.
Like it's nearly 10 years, okay? There are so many I can't get Regigigas to show up posts out there that we should probably just assume every step is mandatory. For the record, I think the first step of you have to wait 24 hours is a big enough wall that likely solves half the posts out there, but we'll continue to err on the side of caution.
That's such an odd thing to add. You could do all of the other requirements, but why do you have to wait 24 hours? Does Regigigas need to get ready? Is he like a girl going on a first date? She's like, oh, well, I have to do my makeup. I have to make sure that my hair looks good. I have to put my dress on. Like, I have to get ready first.
The girl here tells you about how a big Pokemon visits the region to see an icy Pokemon, and she'll say, you need something cold. Ice cream, maybe?
What?
As an added bonus, what I assume is meant to be the next step, even though this actually isn't mandatory, is that you're supposed to track down a girl in Mauville City apartments who sits around all day going, I see ice cream. Because if you bring her a Regice, she will sell you a Castelia cone for 200 Pokédollars.
What?
You can get Castelia cones elsewhere, and you don't even need a Castelia cone because other items work, like the Never Melt Ice and the Icy Rock.
Okay.
It just feels like that was their goal, like that's where they were going with this. If nothing else, this is a renewable source of icy items that you need for this quest. Once you've waited a day, you then need to intuit that...
Wait, that 5-year-old sells you ice cream? You just walk into her house and she's like, yeah, you want to buy my mom's groceries?
Regigigas is supposed to have the cold thing, not you. Even if you know, okay, I guess I gotta find some ice cream and you have it in your inventory, that's not enough. Secondly, you have to do this during the day.
What? There's nothing about the Regis that state that anything has to happen during the day. They live in caves. They don't know what time it is.
Regigigas does not show up at night, so I don't know, get screwed, nighttime player.
Yeah, I guess it's his bedtime. He goes to bed early. Like, he's an early riser. He's a Giga Chad, early riser, cold shower taker. He wakes up at 5 a.m. and goes to bed at 5 p.m.
And lastly, I didn't really know where to throw this in because as far as I know, the game does not mention it. Regigigas needs to have a nickname.
What?
Now, if you've done all that,
Is this real? No. Am I being trolled right now? Is this real?
you can go to the island cave where you first got Regigigas.
Regigigas has to have a nickname? Surely not. You'll need Regirock, Registeel, and Regigigas in the party. Make sure Regigigas has a nickname and is holding an ice-related item. Why? Why?
And Regigigas will come crashing in once you walk onto a specific tile in the last room.
A specific tile? Which one?
I don't know. It can't just be me, but this is dumb, right? Like, the original Regis are absolutely absurdly complicated, and if I were to just read the instructions out loud to you now with zero context,
That's a really cool battle intro,
it
too.
would all sound very silly. But truth be told, the pieces are there. Walk 2 steps right, 2 steps down, and then use strength. Sounds crazy, but the game literally tells you to do that. It's written right there, with the only barrier being a cipher that you are given both in-game and in the instruction book. This whole nickname Regigigas and give it an ice cream cone, and you have to go during the day, but only if you waited 24 hours thing.
This is so silly. They had to program this. Someone sat down and wrote the code for your nickname has to be on Regigigas. Someone wrote the code for, oh, by the way, it has to be holding an ice item too, but only the Regigigas. The rock doesn't have to have a rock, and the steel doesn't have to have a metal coat. No. That would be too complicated. Make sure that you don't have to nickname that Regirock, and you don't have to nickname that Registeel. Someone really liked Regigigas over at Game Freak. They were a little bit upset that they don't get the love that Regigigas deserves. There's a meme around Regirock, and everyone likes Registeel because it's really cool and stuff, but you waited for 24 hours, right? And you did not go at night. Do not go at night. Everyone knows that Regigigas or Regigigas is not a night person.
I don't know, that's just not in the spirit of the original Regis. This feels like a parody of that, you know what I mean?
This literally sounds like something that someone would make up in order to make fun of awkwardly complicated procedures that you need to go through in games. It sounds like a joke.
This is not, oh, it's complicated as hell, but the pieces are here. The pieces just aren't there. I don't know, guys. This one just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry.
It's funny. It is funny. You know what? That's the main thing. You're having a good time. It's really funny. Never mind. Nick's here. I like these transitions. They're really nice transitions.
Way more fun.
Okay.
Complex mechanics.
Ooh, I love them.
Bug catching contest in gold, silver, and crystal. This
Yeah.
contest is completely absurd.
Oh, I have heard how absurd this is. First of all, you can only do it 2 days a week, and then he's gonna explain. He's gonna explain it.
Definitely still leans a little into the how is anyone supposed to figure this out territory. I imagine most of us just show up to get Scyther and Pinsir, with the actual contest aspect being largely irrelevant.
Which, by the way, again, someone needed to sit there and write the code to make sure all of this would work. And then they had to check that it worked. It's not like you just say, oh, let's do this, this, and this, and then, oh, it just magically appears. Sitting down and writing code, it takes hours of labor, and you have to do every individual thing. You have to make sure that every box is checked. Every single interaction that you want to make happen has to be physically put down into the PC and then double check to make sure that it works.
But what if you wanted to win? What if you showed up one day and realized, oh right, the reward is a sunstone, and these are the only sunstones in the game? Alright, let's play to win. So, ostensibly, the way it works is, you show up on one of the days that the contest is running, and you get 20 minutes to catch the strongest bug Pokemon.
Uh-oh, that's some interesting wording there with the strongest.
So going purely off of intuition, you're likely to single out Butterfree, Bee.
Oh no, Entei's there. Wait, is Entei part of the bug catching contest? Why is it there?
Scyther, and Pinsir as likely winner candidates.
Oh my god, he's using a Pokeball and an Entei.
So, likely you'll just try to grab the best you can. You can only bring one Pokemon. So
What?
either you bring something around the level of the bugs here so you can weaken them, or you'll have some special false swipe or status user on board. So you go in, you run into a level 15 Beedrill, maybe knock it down a bit into yellow health, throw a Park Ball, and you're good.
This editing is really good too.
Around a little more. You've got 20 minutes. You encounter 12 Caterpie and a Butterfree that's lower level than your Beedrill. You say, okay, just spare me. I'm probably good. I doubt it's that hard. And you go to get judged. They call out the winners, and you get called for 3rd place.
Oh, it's a randomizer.
With a score of 339. At 2nd place is Picnicker Cindy with a Butterfree at 341, and 1st place is Cool Trainer Nick with a Scyther at 357.
I hate you, Nick. You dick.
What the hell do any of these numbers mean? As far as I'm concerned, they might as well have said, I give you a 7 and kicked you out of the building. It doesn't mean anything. Certainly doesn't mean anything that the game tells you about. Chances are, even when you did catch a Scyther or a Pinsir, your score amounted to 2nd place at best. I know prior to making this video, I'd heard you're not supposed to damage the Pokemon. Catching them with full health is really important.
Yeah, I heard that as well, because I guess it makes sense if you catch the strongest one, beating them up until they're within an inch of their life, they collapse, they've got 7 broken bones on the floor, they're not going to be very strong at that point. Health also counts towards strength, as well as level and statistics, right?
And when I talked to one of my friends about it, he also said, yeah, it's better if they have full health, right?
Yeah.
Let's actually break down the scoring here.
Okay.
Damn near nothing matters except for the stats of the Pokemon in shockingly granular ways. Let's use that theoretical Beedrill from earlier. First is the
Dude, I love this jazz going on in the background.
Pokemon's max HP multiplied by 4. Then you take all of their other stats and add them up. Then
What? Wait, this is how it's calculated? Max HP multiplied by 4, and then you take the stats. So the IVs, I guess in Generation 2 it was called DVs. The DVs of the Pokemon would matter, but you don't know the DVs of a Pokemon. You can only see what the maximum health of a Pokemon would be after you catch it, and then you say, oh, this isn't very good, then you could probably re-roll for another one.
you take their DVs. The site here lists them as IVs, but we'll ignore the semantics. What the game does here is cut them all in half and round them down.
What?
Then you get points for...
And wait, whoa. It cuts them in half, rounds them down. It doesn't use the HP DV.
Every odd number that results from this. But it's not based on how many odd numbers. No, it's based on which ones are odd. Attack is worth 8 points, defense is worth 16, special is worth 4, and speed is worth 1.
What? So it only takes the odd numbers after you round down, and then it just gets these arbitrary values?
Lastly, take the Pokemon's current HP, that's the thing we've been talking about, divide it by 8 and round down.
What?
Then as an added
Divided by 8?
bonus, you can add 1 more point if they're holding an item.
1 point? My mind is shattered. I'm absolutely mind-boggled. How did they even make this? What was the meeting that looked like when they created this? When they sat down and they made the notes for the bug catching contest, which they then had to program in all of these functions for it. What were they on of it? What were they smoking? What were they drinking? It must have been all of it. They must have been on every drug.
Bear in mind that when you catch a Pokemon in the contest, they don't go into your party. They go into that little side menu that lets you know what you have. So you can't cheese this by grabbing an item before you head in for scoring. The only Pokemon in this contest that can come holding an item are Butterfree, Beedrill, and Patterrz.
2% chance for Beedrill.
This Beedrill here comes out to 339, but that really doesn't mean anything without context. We need relativity, so let's talk about the best score you can get. The Pokemon with the highest potential for a score in the entire contest,
I would imagine it's gotta be Scyther or Pinsir.
is a level 14 Scyther.
Okay.
If you catch a Scyther at level 14, with max stats in everything, and had at least 40 HP when you caught it, that will come out to a score of 386.
Woo! Nice! Big number. And you have to have max DVs. DVs, which you can't even look at those. You have no idea what those even look like.
To take a look at the other side, let's pour one out for Weedle, who comes in with the absolute lowest potential score, caught at level 7 with 0 DVs in every stat, caught with too little HP to even get a single extra point. That poor fella clocks in at just 132 points.
It's tough.
So So in a way, the game is honest when it says that it wants the strongest bug, but they mean they want the exact stats to be as high as possible.
Why did they program it in this way? They could have made it so much simpler. They could have just taken the species of Pokemon, assign a point value to the species, take the DVs, assign a point value to the DVs. Boom, you're done.
Remember that I said these Pokemon don't go into your party. You don't even get the option to check said stats. If you want to win, and you're looking for just what you as the player should do...
Wait, what did he just go into the forest?
Just run around.
Wait, you can go down there? Wait, is that always... Have you always been able to go down there in the national park?
Until you find a level 14 Scyther and throw the Park Ball at full health. As an added bonus, a Park Ball at max health has an 8.984% chance of catching. Shout out to Cave of Dragonflies for that.
But you have 20 of them, so it's pretty good.
With odds that low, there's a 15.2% chance that you will throw all 20 of your Park Balls and not catch it. Given how agonizing it is to get to this point in the first place, a 15% chance to just straight up fail through no fault of your own is a little higher than I'd like.
Yeah, but it's Pokemon.
A Fire Blast?
I hate the caption mechanic in Pokemon as a whole. I think that it's not fun. I think that it's silly. I think it makes legendaries an absolute chore to catch because you can do everything right and you'll still have to sit there for like 20 minutes. It's nothing skill-based. There's nothing you do except just click the A button until eventually it clicks. And it doesn't even feel that good when it does. It's just, oh, I smacked my head into a wall enough times for the game to say, whoa, 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 stop. Okay, you're going to give yourself brain damage. Fine, you can have it. Jesus Christ, you weirdo.
Yeah. Fortunately, status is not a factor, so if you can put Scyther to sleep and keep it asleep, you've instead got about a 13% chance of catching Scyther with each ball. Paralysis does not work in this generation, so it's gotta be sleep. Unless you can freeze the Scyther.
Wait, paralysis does not work to help you catch Pokemon in this generation? What? I wasted so much time.
Without dealing more than 7 damage. What's really evil here is the competition. Just actually getting strong bug Pokemon is not that bad. It's how strong they want you to be. Every trainer here has 3 random Pokemon that they get. And let's talk about the absolute scourge of the bug catching contest,
Nick.
Cool Trainer Nick. If Cool Trainer Nick shows up, you're caught between his 3 potential catches. A Butterfree with 349 points, a Scyther with 357, and a Pinsir with 368 points.
That seems almost unbeatable. The maximum amount that you can possibly get in this being 380 Sal or something like that, then this is almost impossible. He's basically impossible to beat.
If he shows up that day and gets that Pinsir, that means that even if you know you have to catch a level 14 Scyther, that's less than 20 points of wiggle room. That whole, your defense DV has to be double an odd number check is worth 16 points alone. And there are only 8 possible DVs that even get you those points in the first place. If your Scyther happened to have a 13 in defense, then you're just screwed. Unless you happen to get the God Scyther, then there's a 1 in 3 chance that the contest was just impossible that day.
That's insane. Also, if you fail it that day, then you have to wait until like 3 days later to even make another attempt in real time.
Even worse is that on top of this, you have Camper Barry, who could also show up.
Yeah, fuck you, Barry, dickhead.
He's got a 366 point Pinsir.
Oh, we should kill him.
2 chances to just be completely screwed.
Let's kill Barry!
My question is, does the game hint at any of this?
No.
If you're looking at my B-roll, I've talked to every single NPC during this. And outside of the most plain flavor text that one could only extract the absolute vaguest of hints from, the only thing I could find resembling an actual tip was this guy telling you to weaken the Pokemon first, which lowers your score.
Of course, dude, you're talking to the competition. Of course they're trying to make you worse. That's actually based. I like that a lot. You know, the competition is giving you bad advice so that you'll get a lower score. That's really funny to me. If you want good advice, you should get good advice from the people running it because they have a vested interest in people doing well, but the competition wants you to do badly. Therefore, they give you bad advice. That's great. I like that.
So you can get Sunflora or Blossom.
Hey, we'll let Blossom.
As a quick aside, I wanted to mention Heart Gold and Soul Silver's iteration of the contest. The changes are fairly minimal, surprisingly. It's calculated completely differently, but winds up accomplishing the exact same thing.
Oh, brilliant.
Everything is now percentage-based. You need a high level, and it's based on what the Pokemon's highest level could be. They take
Okay.
all your IVs at once now and get a percentage out of the maximum. And then
Okay.
they take your current HP based on a percentage of the max. The weird thing now is that the game just straight up assigns rarity values to each species, giving you
Oh, wait, that's literally what I said they should
either
do.
a 60, 80, or 100 point bonus,
Wait, I mean, that makes sense, though, right?
depending on who you caught. The only Pokemon worth 100 points are Scyther and Pinsir.
Yeah, it makes
So what
sense.
this comes out to is a game where the maximum score is a level 14 Scyther with max stats and full HP.
Oh. It's just the exact same thing. That's really funny.
Some differences here is that after you beat the game, all of the levels double. Pinsir now can obtain the same score, and since everything is percentages, the max score is an even 400. But the method is identical. Catch a max level Scyther or Pinsir, and hope the RNG lets you win. There is one important aspect here, though, that I haven't mentioned yet, and it's
Yeah.
the one thing that Heart Gold and Soul Silver didn't preserve. It's the whole divide all the DVs and get odd numbers thing.
That is ridiculous. That is the most insane. I can't imagine what was going through their minds after they slammed some black tar heroin and they were like, yeah, this will be great.
There are only two explanations I can think of for why it was done this way. One, so you just had about a 50% chance to get some extra points, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Or, so that you get the bonus points both for a Pokemon with max DVs and for a shiny Pokemon. Remember
Wait, you get points for a shiny?
that in Gen 2, shiny Pokemon are calculated based on their DVs.
Yeah.
So, the idea that catching a shiny gives you a score bonus is honestly a really cool thing to include as far as I'm concerned.
I think that was unintentional, but still very cool.
I'm willing to believe it's intentional given that
Oh, okay. No, you're right. It was intentional. Stupid idiot. Yeah, no, yeah, of course it was intentional. I don't know why anyone would say otherwise. They meant to have that happen.
this is the generation that introduced shinies in the first place.
Uh-huh.
No such bonus exists in Gen 4, however.
What?
So if you find a shiny, you might be throwing away that day's win just to get it. Somehow I think you'd be able to live with that, though.
You have to wait like 3 days to come back, though. I mean, it's a 1 in 8,000 chance shiny, too. What's next? Oh, that's a lot of days.
Last one on the docket today, and it's something that definitely doesn't cover how were kids meant to figure this out, and just trends fully towards why the hell is this so complicated just in and of itself? Mirage Island.
Oh boy, I remember, and no one's gonna believe me. There was a point where I did find Mirage Island when I was a child. It wasn't on any kind of modified hardware. I had just a normal copy of Emerald. I went to Mirage Island and I was like, ooh, this is kind of boring. And then I left. But I did go there.
I genuinely want to know if anyone watching this has ever encountered Mirage Island fully
Me!
organically.
Yes,
You
me!
need to not only know it exists, but you have to be committed to checking every single day, and you might just have awful odds in the first place.
Unless I'm Mandela affected myself and I didn't go to Mirage Island, but I have memories. No, I have memories of going there. I'm sure I've went there. Maybe after hearing how you're supposed to get there, maybe I didn't. No, I have memories. I did. I definitely went there. Maybe I just got really lucky.
If you don't know, it's as simple as this. There's an island on Hoenn Route 130 called Mirage Island that will randomly spawn on a given day. On it, you can find Wild Wynot and the game's one and only Lychee Berry, one of the best pinch berries in the game, and also great at another purpose. The island's got special stuff, but they pale in comparison to just the sheer rarity of seeing the island at all. How does it spawn? To the player, it's only a maybe it showed up today. There is nothing in the game that hints as to its methods, nor is there anything that even mentions its existence outside of a man in Pacifid log as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Sole goal is to tell you if maybe it showed up today. Here's
Okay.
how it works. What the game actually does is, the moment you hit continue, it checks what day it is. Remember that Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald have a real-time clock built into them.
Yeah.
Then, least surprising of all, it generates a random number. It's
Let's
2
go!
bytes, which is 4 hex digits, or more simply, it's a number between 0 and 65,535. Then, to determine if Mirage Island appears, it checks this random number against the personality values of the Pokemon in your party.
What?
Personality values are 4 bytes long, so
Oh, okay.
just
Okay.
takes the first 2, yes, this is the first byte and this is the second, and sees if they're the same number. If so, Mirage Island is there.
Woo!
You probably
Yeah.
have a bunch of assumptions in your head right now, but I promise this is as
So it takes a 65,000 chance, but it checks it 6 times. So you have 65,000 divided by 6 percentage or chance to get it,
strange
right?
and janky as you'd assume. Any given Pokemon has a 1 out of 65,536 chance of matching Mirage Island's value for that day. Theoretically, more on that in a bit. Thus, if you have a full party of Pokemon and, God forbid, none of them have the same 2 bytes at the front of their personality value, that comes out to a 1 out of 10,923 chance of Mirage Island showing up the moment you check.
I swear I've been there before. I swear I've been there.
So, your first thought. Can you just go and swap out your party to check again? Well, probably not. I imagine it just checks once a day and you... No. You can swap around your party as many times as you like.
Okay,
If anything, it feels like they want you to do this, because they included a guy who will literally check if Mirage Island showed up when you did that, instead of you having to surf out there every time.
I can just imagine what the old man's thinking when he looks out the window. He's like, maybe there's an island out there today. What? You brought some new Pokemon. That's cool. Oh, Jesus! Where did that get here? Where did the kid go?
This makes Mirage Island's odds way better, right? All you have to do is know to swap out your party and talk to the man in the corner of the town that doesn't let you run.
It's a 1 in 10,000 chance to get one fucking lychee berry.
Over and over. If your save file happens to have 100 Pokemon in it, and somehow none of them have the same 2 bytes at the front of their personality value, then your odds jump up to the impressive 1 out of 656. Now that sounds pretty good, honestly. If your shiny odds were 1 out of 656, you'd be popping them out.
No, but you have to swap out 100 Pokemon on your team. You're swapping out your team, almost 20 times, and then going back to the fella to check it and all of that is for a 1 in 656 chance.
Shiny odds are rolled for every single Pokemon you encounter. This 1 out of 656 chance is rolled per day. And when I say rolled, I mean you personally are going to go and walk back and forth 17 times, checking every single Pokemon in your save file. And if you don't get it, wait 24 hours and do it again. If you do that every day for a week, you've got an astounding 1% chance. If you committed to doing that every day for a year, you get a whopping 42.7% chance.
Let's go!
Imagine, not even a 50% chance for all your dedication.
I swear I've been there.
Not even a coin flip. But, are you ready for the worst part?
I mean, the place only has why nots.
Remember that little theoretically
Ingleams
asterisk? Well, the game generates a number between 0 and 65,535, but it does so daily, based on the RTC, the real-time clock. But the RTC doesn't have 65,536 days. They set the clock's range from the year 2000 to the year 2099. This isn't a strange range. The GameCube sets its clock to the exact same range. To my knowledge, the PlayStation 2 does it as well. But the years 2000 to 2099 only have 36,525 days between them.
So theoretically, it could be completely impossible to find Mirage Island if it's generating numbers that are outside that range,
What's
right?
worse is that the random number generator produces duplicate values in this range too, which lowers the number of possible Mirage Island values to just 27,925. Now then, this would be great if there was simply a yes-no factor on each given number. But remember that these numbers are checked against your Pokemon's personality values. Personality values that very much exist in the full range from 0 to 65,535.
So your Pokemon's personality values can be completely outside the range, making it impossible for it to ever generate the same number.
If you do the math on this, only around 42.6% of the possible values overlap with Mirage Island's values at all.
So you could just be slamming the same Pokemon into it over and over again without realizing that it has a personality value that can never, ever, ever be the same as Mirage Island's. That's mean.
That means that any given Pokemon you catch has over a 50% chance of possessing a personality value that will never correspond with Mirage Island.
Oh, that's really mean.
All this is to say nothing of the glitches and limitations present within the RTC. Don't forget that the RTC runs off of a battery in your cartridge, a battery that can run dry, and is susceptible to things such as the berry glitch. If your RTC stops updating, then your Mirage Island value will be frozen in place. But that does mean that you've got an eternity to find a Pokemon that will trigger the island.
Let's go.
But what, all of this is so that you can save yourself from having to breed a Wobbuffet? Chances are...
Yeah. Oh, you can actually just get... Dude, there's an egg. You get given an egg in the game, and it hatches into Wynot. So you never have to... The only reason you would ever go to Mirage Island is if you really, really want a fucking berry.
The real thing you want here is the Lychee Berry, so you can make a great competitive moveset for one of the battle facilities.
Yeah.
Or maybe...
Maybe
you have another use for that berry in mind.
Oh?
Complicated use. One that delves into something so complex, it overcame the entire scope of this video on its own.
What? Okay.
One that sent me down a rabbit hole so far, I had to save it for an entirely new project.
Oh.
If you're curious, then stick around, because next time we're going to take a look at the Pokéblock. I'll see you then.
Wow, okay. That was a pretty good outro. Okay, so I guess that's the absurd depths of the Pokéblock. A 55-minute... Wow! All right, well, hey, I would actually recommend that you go and watch the absurd depths of the Pokéblock next if you're checking out some more of these amazing videos. That was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed that a lot. Hit that like button. Make sure I'm subscribed so I can stay updated. Thank you so much for allowing me to react to this. I did message him and ask if I could react to the video. They said yes, so please go and check out the other video, the absurd Pokéblock video. It would be fantastic. And also, if you want to get some delicious beverages or the caffeine or caffeine-free for less than $1 per serving, you can get some gamer subs with code Patterrz. Use code Patterrz at gamer subs so you get shipped worldwide. You get them everywhere. And if you want to see more of my dumb face, you can always subscribe to this channel as well.